Hey guys, welcome back to another video here. This time I'm going to be talking about premium squads and what I think premium squads should and shouldn't be. So as of right now, there are 6 premium squads in the game. There are the American and German assault squads in Normandy. There's the Soviet and German assault squads in Moscow. And then there's a Soviet and German gunner squads in Moscow as well. Now, we're going to have more premium squads. I'm going to assume they're going to be mostly infantry squads, and I'll talk about vehicle premium squads later because that could be a problem. But right now, we just have about 6 squads, exactly 6 squads, and most of them fit my criteria for what they need to be, what I think premium squads should be in Enlisted. And I think the developers are doing a great job with these premium squads. Now, my idea of what a premium squad should be is, number 1, balanced. They have to be balanced. If the premium squads are not balanced, then we're going to start getting into pay-to-win territory where you can pay $30 and get an incredibly overpowered squad that is unstoppable, essentially. And that is going to get very, very frustrating for a lot of players very, very quickly, and that will drive players away from the game. So, number 1, it has to be balanced. And I do think most of the squads fall into this right now. I haven't played Moscow with the new German and Soviet LMG squads, so I can't say much on the balance of that, but based on how the devs have reacted to previous balance issues with the German and Soviet squads, assault squads, I would say that even if they are unbalanced, I would hope that we do see balance, we do see them get balanced in the future. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about the guns, because we're going to be focusing on the guns here, because the squads themselves, I think, are fine. I think the concept of a premium squad existing is fine because you sacrifice a lot of versatility in your squads because you can only bring assaulters or gunners or whatever. So I want to talk about the guns here and what guns I think are okay and which guns are not okay to exist for the premium squads. So first, the guns that I think should exist in the premium squads are guns that probably didn't see a lot of use. They need to be unique. They need to be historically accurate. We shouldn't have American squads running around with M16s because that doesn't make any sense. But they should be unique over historically accurate. So a good example of this is the the Russian Schaushat, I think, Schaushat. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it was if you don't know, that was a French LMG during the First World War, and was used a little bit during the Second World War in the Battle of France. And the Soviets probably never used this in real life. This was not a weapon that the Soviets were using. The Soviets were mostly using DP-27s or DP-28s. I'm not sure which variant, whatever. They were mostly using DPs. And so it wouldn't make sense for them to have this gun, really. There was probably not any, groups of soldiers that were actually using that French LMG. But the Finnish were actually shipped a crate of like 5,000 of them during the Winter War with the Soviets. And I don't think it's that far of a stretch to think, hey, some Soviets found a crate of these, took them, and were using them, right? Did it happen? Probably not. Would they have kept using their DP? Yes, absolutely. But in terms of a video game where we're getting this unique premium squad, I think that we should be getting unique, interesting weapons that we otherwise wouldn't be able to use. If I go and play Hell Let Loose, I'm not going to be able to use this weapon because Hell Let Loose focuses more on historical accuracy. Not that Enlisted doesn't, but the weapons in Hell Let Loose are kind of more select, I suppose. And Enlisted, I think, has a great opportunity of using a wider variety of weapons and a higher, wider arsenal of weapons. And I think that that's a really good thing. I think that can lead to some really interesting squads and some really interesting and fun situations. So I think something like the Schaushat is a great, great premium weapon. The M2 Hyde, I think, is the same thing. There really just weren't that many of them used, if they were used at all. The MP41 is the same thing. It was only really used by the SS and military police. And the PPK-41 as well was the same thing. It just wasn't really used that often. It was like a stopgap measure, essentially. The Soviets just wanted to get something out there. And so there was hardly any documentation of the PPK-41 that I could even find, or 42, whichever one it is. And so I think that those are all great examples. The MP34 extended mag from the Normandy German assaults, I don't think are good. I actually think that's a very poor example of a premium squad because that's a weapon that's already in the game. The MP34 already exists in the game, and they just gave it an extended mag, like 10 more bullets, and changed its name. It's like the exact same stats. I think that's incredibly lazy and incredibly boring. And personally speaking, if I would have bought that squad, I would be very upset about that. I would think that that's very frustrating and like not worth that $30. While I do think the M2 hide is worth the $30 because this is a cool little gun. You get a cool squad, you get a cool, neat little gun. I think that's great, you know? But the MP34 extended mag, I can go play the Moscow campaign and basically get the same exact experience. So I don't really see why they did that. I think that should be changed. I think that if I were someone who bought that, I would be upset about that, I guess is the best I can say. I don't know if you like the MP34 extended mag and you're fine with it, great. But personally speaking, I would be upset about that. So those are my thoughts on those premium squads, guys, on infantry. I really guess it just boils down to number one, balanced. They have to be balanced. If they're not balanced, what's the point? The game will die, it'll be pay to win, and it'll be crappy. Number two, they need to be unique. They're unique guns. There needs to be guns that you're not otherwise going to be able to experience in the game, right? Or in other games, for that matter. And number three, historical accuracy should play some sort of, you know, so it should play into it in some way. So whether that's, you know, we're not having M16s or whether that's, you know, hard lines on historical accuracy, whatever the devs want there. But I think that as long as it's a unique weapon that is somewhat historically accurate, I think it's fine. Now let's go on to vehicle squads. Now, as of right now, we don't have any premium vehicle squads, but I personally don't think that's going to be the case for long. I think that we are going to see premium vehicle squads at some point, whether those are infantry, or I'm sorry, whether those are you know, tanks or planes. We're going to have some sort of vehicle squads in the future that are premium. And I worry about this because I think that it's a lot easier to make a tank overpowered than it is to make say a weapon overpowered, because no matter how powerful these weapons that the infantry squads could have, they still die in one headshot. While a tank, you can make really, really overpowered. And so it could be just absolutely unstoppable for the most part. And so I think that the devs need to tread really lightly when it comes to making premium vehicle squads if they choose to, because that can get really dangerous. I think the same rules apply, but balance needs to be even higher and needs to be even more focused on. And uniqueness and historical accuracy, I mean, there's so many tanks that could be used. I mean, tank destroyers, armored cars, you know, APCs. I don't know how many APCs were actually during World War II. I was thinking more of like the universal carrier from the British or something like that. Just some weird, you can do some weird stuff, right? You know, get weird with it. I think that that's fine, and it should be. Like, I would like to see some really crazy things, some really heavy, you know, like maybe in Berlin, some really, really heavy tank battles. So some really interesting stuff. Like, imagine if you get a KV-2 as the Russians as a premium. That'd be cool as hell. Like, that thing is wacky. You know, that's a goofy thing. Or maybe the British could get like a Churchill Aviary, or God forbid, a Churchill Crocodile. That would be really cool, right? Like, that could be a really interesting thing as long as it's properly balanced. So again, I think the same rules apply to the tanks and the vehicles as the infantry squads. There needs to be uniqueness, but I think that the devs need to really pay attention to balance for premium vehicles if they ever do come, because I think it's a lot easier to break the game with those than it is to break the game with infantry squads. So anyway, guys, those are my thoughts. There's been so much conversation about premium squads lately, and I wanted to put my thoughts out there on the balance of them as it stands right now, and what they should and shouldn't be, what we can and can't have for these. So I don't know if you guys agree with me on these. Let me know down below, guys. And if you like the video, please remember to subscribe and like the video. You can also come follow me over on twitch.tv/HeyQuadro and let me know your thoughts over there as well.